Government has only two ways of getting money other than raising taxes. It can go into the money market and borrow, competing with its own citizens and driving up interest rates, which it has done, or it can print money, and it's done that. Both methods are inflationary. We're victims of language. The very word inflation leads us to think of it as just high prices. And then, of course, we resent the person who puts on the price tags, forgetting that he or she is also a victim of inflation. Inflation is not just high prices. It's a reduction in the value of our money. When the money supply is increased, but the goods and services available for buying are not, we have too much money chasing too few goods.
Hello my viewers and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are taking a look into a critical issue impacting countless Americans, the skyrocketing cost of living. Now we'll explore the struggles faced by individuals like a teacher whose salary is swallowed by a $2,000 rent, a $400 car payment, and essential expenses without even considering the additional costs like laundry. Now, despite working hard and living responsibly, many find themselves sinking deeper into debt. We'll also discuss why in an era of stagnant wages and rising costs, even those with stable jobs are grappling with the financial instability. So join me as we unpack this pressing concern and examine how it affects families and individuals striving to make ends meet. Let's take a look at these videos, but before we get into the videos, make sure to subscribe because you will find my videos interesting. Tap on the like button and give this video a thumbs up. And be part of the conversation by sharing your thoughts on what you think about this video in the comment section. With that said, let's take a look at the videos. I will be right back.
How are people affording life right now? How are people tackling this cost of living on the average American salary? I just watched a TikTok of a teacher who makes a teacher's salary. I don't know what state she's in, so I don't know how much she makes, but her one-bedroom apartment is $2,000. And when she spends $2,000 on that one-bedroom apartment, it doesn't even come with a washer and dryer. So she has to go pay an additional $2 every time she wants to use their washer and dryer. Okay, like, how does that leave her any extra money to spend? And then she said she had a $400 car payment, which some people were bashing her on that. But in today's economy with interest rates, that's really not that bad. And I'm sure she needs a dependable car. So you talk about teacher's salary, $2,000 in rent, $400 car payment. You got insurance, you got groceries, electricity. Like, I don't understand how people are affording life right now, and it really makes me sad for some people. You have people who are like her. She's single, she has her own salary, or families where it just works out best for them for the mother to stay home. And if the father is just making an average American salary, how are they affording life without going in a bunch of debt? This lady who's a teacher started crying because she said she realizes on her salary and where she lives, she will actually end up in more debt. Then, like, she will just continue to accrue more debt and more debt and more debt because her salary is not matching the cost of living. And what's sad is I've seen people be like, just spend less. Listen, guys, the cost of living is rising and our salaries are stagnant, okay? So there's not just spend less. That's not the problem here. The problem is the cost of living is outrageous, and minimum wage in some states is still $7.25. Teachers in some states are still paid a ridiculously low salary, even though their job is super important. I don't know what we can do about this, but I'm just going on a rant because it really, really pisses me off.
I got a $14,000 ER bill for just being there for 3 hours. $14,000. Living in the USA without health insurance is wild, like wild. And I grew up without health insurance and have so many stories about this. But this right here, this particular instance, I had extreme stomach pain. So let's check out these numbers, okay? What costs $14,000? Radiology, $600. Laboratory, $400. Urology, just for them to check your pee, it costs $300. CT body scan, $5,800. Did I ask for a CT scan? No, but my stomach hurts, so they said I had to have one. Ultrasound, $2,000. Emergency room general, so just to visit the emergency room, to just be there, $3,500. What is in that $3,500? What is included in that? Because Everything else I did, like lab work, everything, it's additional on here. Diagnostics lab, so just them doing my lab work, like taking my blood, $1,100. $14,000. Now, lucky for me, I have insurance. So this, for me, went down to $115. I did, however, grow up without insurance, and my parents, they still don't have insurance. So when they're in extreme pain like that, they will literally sit there and suffer until it eventually goes away because they cannot afford to go to the ER and get help, which is so sad. Now, as a mom, this makes me think of what my mom went through. Nowadays, when my kids are sick and they're feeling really, really bad, I am privileged to have insurance and be able to take them to the hospital. But when we were little in the United States, my mother could not afford to take us to the ER when something was really, really scary or bad, you know? She would just have to wait it out because we couldn't afford it. So sad, so many people still live this way, including my own parents. So healthcare really needs to be more affordable. Our taxpayer money is used for awful things in the world, but it cannot be used to get us health insurance so that we don't have to live this way. It's sad. Anyways, just my thoughts. So let me know your thoughts on this. Bye.
This is why I feel like the cost of living has never been as bad as it is right now. Because it used to be when the cost of living was high, it was for the things that you need in life. Food, gas, shelter, etc. All those things cost a lot of money. Right now, all of those things still cost a lot of money. And also, I feel like it's just expensive to just be alive. Like, I feel like my life, as soon as I wake up, is literally just me putting down a credit card, and it's just a tab. And life is a bartender, and it's just like, what are you gonna have? And I'm just like, I'm okay. I don't really need anything today. And it's just like, oh, really? Well, if you're gonna be here, you're gonna need to spend money. And I'm just like, what do you mean here? I'm just in the world. And it's just like, yeah, you have to buy something now. It's even getting to the point where, like, I feel like even my thoughts are getting expensive, you know? Like I could just have the thought of like, my nose is a little stuffy. And then all of a sudden I open up my phone 10 minutes later and have 12 ads for like, oh, you have a pollen allergy and you got to buy these anti-pollen allergy pills or you're going to suffocate in your sleep. Sleep is the only place I still feel kind of safe. But even there, it's like I could have sleep problems for one night and then I wake up feeling kind of groggy and all of a sudden I'm getting targeted ads for melatonin gummies. It's like all of our necessities are still expensive, and then also just every increment of our life costs something.
I'm sorry, we need how much to live comfortably in the United States? The median family income in the United States is a little under $70,000. $70,000. No state in the United States enables a family to live comfortably with $70,000 in income. So yeah, something monumental needs to be done to correct this. Because as wages continue to stay stagnant and inflation to keep going up, we're all going to be priced out. It's not a question of working harder, it's not a question of working overtime. This is now a question of structural, systematic change. This map shows that the cheapest place to live for a family is in Mississippi. $178,000. And billionaires and corporations think that they have it rough?
If you think that 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck because they have a spending issue, but you're not having that same attitude towards billionaires who are buying islands, going to space, buying entire countries, who knows what they're doing with their billions, but if you are going after the people who are barely making it and who just want like basic luxuries of having a phone, which is very needed for the majority of businesses, I would just like to say that that's just classism and elitism. Because if you think that the 64% of Americans that are barely making a livable wage have a spending issue, but not the billionaires that are just hoarding wealth that they're never going to be able to touch, you need to do some reflecting.
You know what is infuriating? The fact that you can't get hired anywhere unless you have like 10, 15 years of experience, but the people they have working for them don't know how to function their email. Like, currently, I'm dealing with this woman who does not know how to read up in an email thread. Like, literally, all the questions she's asking are in there. For months, for years, I've been telling her, if you look up in this thread, she doesn't know what it means. She doesn't know what it means. She just asked me a question that I answered in the previous email sent to her. And she said, last time I think you said this. You could so easily scroll up or search your email for the keywords. I don't understand why they won't let people who know how to function in modern society have jobs, but will let these boomers stay there who don't know what a PDF is, who don't know how to read email, who can't figure out the printer. What is going on?
If you are not struggling financially right now, then you need to consider yourself completely blessed. Like, don't even consider yourself. You are completely blessed. Like, every time I check my local mom group on Facebook, I see requests or people asking where they can get some financial assistance to pay utilities or assistance with rent. And it's concerning because these people are working full-time jobs and they just can't make things work right now. For example, this morning, a woman posted she's an RN working 2 jobs and still is struggling. I know we're all complaining about how expensive things are. For me, personally, like my car insurance doubled in August. I was paying around $140 a month, and now I'm paying $280 for 2 vehicles, and I'm one driver. And I have never had a claim. There was no reason for the increase other than they just increased me. On top of that, Florida Power and Light rules the entire state of Florida now. They bought out Gulf Power, and since then, all I ever hear about from people is how astronomical their utility bills are. Everyone is trying to find ways to save money. But as soon as we save money in one area, something else goes up. So it's just kind of like we're sliding this scale back and forth, and it's actually like increasing. We're never saving, no matter how hard we try. Like, I stopped eating out with my kids. Obviously, eating out is super expensive, but I went almost a month no eating out, and it was still a struggle. And if you made it this far, I don't mean this to be like a pity party thing. I'm figuring it out. But last Friday, my birthday, my boss cut my hours in half. So yeah, I guess this is also like a PSA to people who aren't struggling right now. Don't be tone deaf, because you never know what's going on behind the scenes. If you start to notice behavior changes and lifestyle changes, I can promise you it's because people are being proactive or, I don't know, maybe reactive to their financial situation. It's just a mess.
Now, the cost of living has risen to the point that most Americans are feeling the pressure. An astounding 80% of Americans have experienced a cost of living creep in the last few years. This cost of living creep means that consumers are spending more money to afford the same amount of goods or services as they did in the past. About 66% of those surveyed say the rising cost of living is holding them back from meeting their financial goals. Now, a lack of rising incomes and high interest rates are 2 of the biggest factors contributing to this cost of living creep. Almost 60% of people believe their incomes won't ever catch up with the current cost of living. Even those who have seen their incomes rise can't keep up with the increased costs. Paying down debt, saving for retirement, and buying a new car are all being put on hold due to an inability for many Americans to keep up their everyday expenses. More than half of those surveyed have taken an extra debt or are unable to save now that they're dealing with costly bills and expenses. Saving in general has taken a back burner, with 37% of respondents unable to set aside any of their income for savings goals. Instead, their incomes go toward basic living costs, which are still difficult for many Americans to meet. Struggling with debt and high living costs. Living costs are rising to the point where retirees and seniors are thinking about returning to work temporarily. 1/3 of retired individuals consider taking on a few shifts per week, an Indeed Flex survey showed. Around 42% of seniors who never left the workforce also considered adding extra shifts at work or through side hustles. About 1/5 of those surveyed cited a lack of savings as the reason they were returning to work temporarily, while over 71% blamed cost of living increases. Now, outside of financial reasons, some retirees also plan to return to work for personal fulfillment or to have a greater number of social interactions. Now, one of the most expensive costs Americans are dealing with is housing. Both buying and renting costs have grown substantially since before the pandemic, but the cost of buying is outpacing renting in the 50 largest metros across the country. In all of the major housing markets, renting is more affordable than buying a starter home. It's important for first-time buyers who are thinking Should I buy now or later? This will give them a clearer picture about their financial costs. Rental costs in these metros fell for the 7th consecutive month as of February. Costs associated with purchasing a starter home, on the other hand, rose 60.1% from last year and cost buyers an extra $1,027 more each month. Renting is largely cheaper than buying right now due to high mortgage interest rates settling above the 7% range. Now, these rates push the cost of buying up. Paired with already high income prices, this creates a buying nightmare for prospective homeowners. It's a harsh reality that no one is immune to the rising cost of living. Even if you have a steady job, people are increasingly forced to juggle 2 or more jobs just to stay afloat. Yet many are still finding it difficult to make ends meet. The financial strain is so severe that despite putting in extra hours and working multiple positions, the struggle continues unabated. Now, this isn't just about personal budgeting. It's a broader systemic issue where wages haven't kept pace with living costs, leaving even the most diligent workers grappling with financial insecurity. In today's economic landscape, it's clear that the struggle is universal, regardless of employment status. Many people are finding that having a single job no longer suffices to cover basic living expenses. As a result, it's increasingly common for individuals to take on multiple jobs to make ends meet. Despite these efforts, the financial pressures remain overwhelming. Now, the crux of the problem is that wages have largely stagnated, while the cost of living, encompassing housing, healthcare, transportation, and everyday essentials has surged. Now, this mismatch means that even those working long hours across several positions are often unable to keep up with rising costs. The reality is that this issue extends beyond individual budgeting. It reflects a systemic failure where the economic system hasn't adapted to the increasing financial demands placed on ordinary workers. As a result, many find themselves trapped in a cycle of financial strain, struggling to achieve a basic standard of living despite their best efforts. Now, the latest observation highlights a critical issue that wages have not kept pace with the rising cost of living. Consider the example of the teacher mentioned. Earning a salary that should, in theory, provide a decent standard of living, yet struggling under the burden of $2,000 monthly rent, a $400 car payment, and other essential expenses. Now, this scenario isn't unique. It reflects a broader trend where the cost of living, particularly for housing, healthcare, and transportation, has surged while wages have remained relatively stagnant. Now, according to recent data, the median wage in the US has not seen significant increases over the past few decades, while the costs for basic necessities have skyrocketed. For instance, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that inflation has outpaced wage growth in many sectors. With minimum wage still at $7.25 in some states, it's clear why individuals are compelled to work multiple jobs just to make ends meet, often with little to show for their extra effort. Now, the systemic disconnect between income and living costs is causing real hardship, forcing many to accrue debt simply to cover daily expenses. It's a situation that underscores the need for a broader discussion on wage policies and cost of living adjustments to ensure that hardworking individuals can achieve financial stability without resorting to extreme measures. We have finally come to the end of the video, but what do my viewers have to say? Share your thoughts, your views, your contributions, your experiences as well in the comment section, and let's have a conversation. Thank you for always watching, and see you in my next video as I bring you another interesting video.